Hi everybody, this is Oliver Hines from underground.com, and I'm indeed honoured to say we're with Phil Anselmo.
Oh man, all right.
Everyone's man. Well, straight into it, you're on tour right now with the Illegals, promoting choosing mental illness as a virtue. It's been out for about a year now, give or take, I think. So now that the dust has settled a little bit, how do you view the overall quality of the album?
Well, I meant the record to be hideous. I meant it to be one of a kind from the Illegals, one of a kind from me. Just extremities, death metal, grindcore, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I doubt I'd do another record like this, so it's unique in that form. So, also, you gotta think, directly when we were beginning to, I guess, get ready to tour, like we were about a month out originally, that's when Vince Paul died, and that was a shock to everybody. And then there came earnest calls for us to do the Pantera material, and I will say, never in a million years did I think it would be this band that was doing the Pantera stuff.
Yeah.
But I said, hey, give it a shot, fellas. And they did a great job, you know. I felt, you know, fuck it, you know, the tribute is a must.
Yeah.
It's something that we have to do. So that's a strange place to be, you know, with one grindcore record versus a career of Pantera. So the crowds have been mixed and interesting and great, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to see you at Grass Pump last week. It was a fucking amazing set. It was such a great way to open the festival.
And we were just landing, so
yeah.
I appreciate them.
No, it was full on, and hearing songs like Using My Third Arm live was just fucking, it was real special. It really was. And I mean, it came across to the audience how much it meant to you as much as it meant to all of us. So.
It's insane, man. It's real history, and the thing I think that gets me through without overthinking it too much is seeing the younger people in the audience that, you know, never had a chance to see Pantera. And the only way they've even, I guess, heard of Pantera was their parents, you know, growing up and listening to the stuff. So it's good to have that young blood out there, and to see them singing all the words and all that shit, man. It's inspiring.
I would imagine so. How much time did the rest of the guys have to learn the set? I mean, like you say, it was
Jeez. Oh man, a month, barely a month, you know, and then on the road, I guess, you know, we'd be going over other things, and they would attack it in sound check and stuff. So, you know, big props to them, man. Huge props to the Illegals. I love them all. They're great band to work with in general. Everybody's humble and on the same page, which is pretty rare in my experience. You know, most band guys are into a bunch of different stuff, and to a certain degree, it is like that. But when it comes to the Illegals music, it seems like everybody has got a pretty pure vision. And that's interesting too, because like I said, this one record is probably one of a kind.
Yeah.
And I guess we've been writing some new stuff, coming up with new things as of lately, and it's definitely meant to be different than the other stuff. And the fact that everyone's locked in so quickly, I've got zero complaints, man. It's great.
Yeah, well, like I say, they did a fantastic job last week. So, and
yeah,
just
it's about a month.
It's fucking unreal. And just listening to like the albums themselves, you can tell what a fucking solid lineup it is. How skilled they are.
Oh, they are skilled for sure.
I mean, because there's choosing mental illness, like you say, is meant as like innovative death metal and grindcore.
Sure.
But it doesn't sound anything like, say, Extreme Noise Terror or
anything
like that. It's just
not supposed to.
No, but it's it does what's quite rare, which is it's kind of a new take on brutality. It's something.
Maybe an old man's take on brutality.
Yeah.
I grew up with it, man. I watched it all happen organically, man. So, but still, one man's extreme is another man's fucking ballet. You never know.
Obviously, to promote the album as well, you did the music video for the title track with the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh yeah.
Which is really fun to watch. And, it's kind of funny seeing. I mean, the video itself is about 6.5 minutes in total, I think. And for like a death metal grindcore kind of band, where normally the songs are very short to the point.
That's one thing. I do wish our songs had been a little shorter. When I go back and listen to them, I'm like, that's where it should have stopped. But yeah. But I hear you. Yeah. I think you're gonna find that a lot of little things, like just the video alone, you know, it shows that we're a different kind of band.
Yeah.
You know, I think each record will be extreme in its own way, but I want to use my voice, I think, differently on this next record coming up, and we'll see how it turns out, man. It's gonna be interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's on hinting there at the new record. There seems to be a lot of momentum behind the Illegals now. Everyone kind of is getting the point now that this is what Phil's doing now. Let's Phil with the Illegals. You can check out the Illegals. For all the other bands you have, which we'll get to in a little bit, but that seems to be the main focus. So with this momentum, do you think it'll be quite a short time before the third Illegals out?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I want
to start. I want to start getting something in the can in January, man. I just want to get in the room, work for the entire month of January, see what we come out with. So
sweet.
Yeah.
I mentioned that you're involved with other projects as well. A friend of mine saw you with Scour at the Death Fest the other week. She said it was fucking incredible.
Oh Maryland Death Fest. That was a good gig.
Cool. How far along are you with Scour in terms of a full-length release coming up?
They're waiting on me to sing the next EP. The next EP is finished musically, pretty much. But I've been going through a dry patch of creativity, or maybe it's like a brief time out. It happens to me every now and again where I'll immerse myself in music of one sort or another. Like the last band with obviously Portal, but that last David Bowie record, man, I immersed myself in that thing. And then when I came out, it was like, nothing's really appealing right this second. So I'm gonna go back to listening to my old Italian horror soundtracks and see what kind of inspiration hits me out of nowhere, with something. So the Scour, Illegals, all that shit, it's gonna come in due time.
Cool. That's not bad inspiration to have, the likes of Goblin and Tangerine Dream.
Good call, yeah, and they're both on my playlist.
Cool, man, cool. And I've read about En Minor as well, the kind of goth project, like a ballad.
It's really not, I used a generalization and everybody took that ball and ran with it, It's like, damn it, I wish I would have never said this band or that band, but it's not a heavy metal band. It is a very special band for me, and I guess most of the members, and it's one of the things I can't really say too much about because everybody knows about it, but they haven't heard a damn lick of the music, and it's like, damn, I'm painting myself into a corner here. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how people react to it, and because in its own way, it is superbly heavy, very, very heavy, but in a more vibey way, and the lyrics are pretty dark.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's cool. One thing I've always wanted to talk to you about is the Manson Family film. I really like that film.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, and you were very heavily involved with that. I mean, you did quite a lot of music for it. I think you financed it to an extent as well.
Yeah.
And there were some really cool songs in there as well, like the Long Hair song.
Long Hair, yeah.
That's a fucking really cool song. I was actually, even though I knew you were really involved with the music, I was still shocked when I found out it was you.
Oh yeah.
So it might be a fucking silly question considering everything things going on, but at some point would you like to kind of expand on those kind of like 60s influences and Manson Family kind of thing into a new band? Or?
I mean, wait till you hear En Minor, man. I think I might have already done it, you know. So I love the 60s style, and some of the people that have listened to En Minor tell me it's like, man, this is oddly 50s, this is oddly 60s, but it's neither. So here we are back to talking about En Minor, and not one fucking thing to draw from. But in a month or so, that'll be under, I guess, some more scrutiny, because we do have an EP coming out, which isn't enough, because the full length is after that, and it's sitting there, just ready to go. So,
I mean, EPs seem to be not an easy way, but perhaps a more
appropriate,
yeah, I guess, way of getting things done, because obviously Down, the last
well, that was a time thing. That was a time thing, definitely for Down.
Yeah.
But with En Minor, it's more like I guess we got offered a gig in Vegas, Psycho Fest, and I think it's more of a thing where we need to get some product out there, because we're headlining one of the stages on Friday night. You know, I know people aren't going to know the music or anything, but it's the type of music where you don't have to watch the band, really.
Okay.
We're more like the...
Like Goblin kind of.
Sure, maybe something like that, but with vocals, you know.
Yeah.
But they don't have to stare at me, you know. I'm not gonna look any different, you know. So
you're not gonna go all full Chet Baker and start playing or anything like that.
No,
Cool.
not at all. Cool. Whoever Chet Baker, that song.
Just briefly touching on that, and with so many, like say, the illegal Scour and En Minor and so forth, where does that leave Down and Superjoint at the moment?
I don't really feel like doing Superjoint anymore. No. But Down, we got the 25th anniversary coming up of NOLA. So I would expect to do some gigs there.
Yeah.
But also, it needs to be respected that Pepper is doing COC. Jimmy's really been doing a lot of I Hate God as well. And Kirk is doing Crowbar. And that's one thing. If we do anything for the 25th anniversary of NOLA, I want Kirk in the band. So, I don't want to bug you. I don't want to interrupt anybody's life. If we do something, it'll be a couple shows here and there, and make it a special thing.
Maybe do the whole album or something like that.
Something like that. We
It
could.
would be interesting to hear Jail live. That's my fucking favorite dance.
We used to do it live, and if you like Jail, then you'll definitely like En Minor. So something like that.
Sweet. Just to finish off with something a bit lighter, I know you're a big boxing fan.
Huge.
Were you able to catch the Joshua and Fury fights recently?
Yep. I knew something was going to happen. I've got crazy hypothesis of why and what, but I've never seen anything quite like that Anthony Joshua loss, and it was bizarre. Like everybody else, I saw the disconnect with him in the dressing room.
Right.
It was like, this is not the regular Anthony Joshua here. Does he really feel out of his element? Is this really going to affect him? That was strange, man, because honestly, if you really want to get down to brass tacks, he quit that fight. He stepped in the corner and quit the fight. Now, one of my hypotheses is that boxing is a rogue and crooked sport, but it's also a booming business. The way Anthony Joshua lost, he did get hit with a nice shot on the temple that it never looked like he recovered from. But with Fury and Deontay Wilder already, before the Ruiz fight, Anthony Joshua Ruiz fight, both Fury and Wilder announced that they were going to have their rematch after one fight. So that takes up about a year and a half, 2 years, figuring these guys fight like once a year.
Yeah.
That's set in stone. So where does that leave Anthony Joshua? The dude holding all the belts. I think the best business for him was to fucking lose. So he has this gigantic rematch with fucking Andy Ruiz, and back in the UK, win his titles back, and that it keeps it the dramatic effect alive. I'm not sure I even believe that, but for business and boxing business, a guy like Andy Ruiz winning and beating Anthony Joshua, which is just, I never thought in a million years it would happen. But if you think about it, you look back at the older fights, we saw Anthony Joshua fight Joseph Parker, and I thought Joseph Parker had the better feet in that fight, and had he let his hands go a little bit more, could have won the fight. I was surprised Joshua didn't press more. And then we saw Joseph Parker fight Andy Ruiz to a very tight decision. When Parker was still undefeated, they fought for the vacant IBO title. Pardon me, WBO. Jesus.
There's too fucking many belts.
Yeah, but I should know all this. It's WBO, and they fought for the vacant title. It was a tight scrap. So they say styles make fights. A lot of people are saying Joshua and Andy Ruiz styles just clash, and it'll never be good for the big man. But I think all Joshua would have to do is go back and study every single Vladimir Klitschko fight since Vlad got with Emmanuel Stewart and learn how to fight big.
Yeah.
He'd win that fight easy. Because when I see Joshua coming to the ring, and he's this 6'6" guy, Andy Ruiz is about 6'2". Joshua makes himself small. He gets down to the level of Andy Ruiz. That's a fucking big mistake.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. Amateurish mistake. Once again, it's such a bizarre circumstance. And on top of that, we got Big Fury, who right now, I think, when he's fighting with this lightness about it in his heart, in his mind, I don't think he's beatable. I think he's unstoppable in this era. I think he's a special fighter. And I think a lot of people don't know this, but the guy who fought, Tom Schwartz, is a tough guy. I like Schwartz, and I rated him decently before the fight. And I read comment sections here and there on the boxing websites, oh, who's this bum, Schwartz? He's a bum. He's not a fucking bum. He's a tough fighter. And I was worried, fighting Fury, you're gonna look bad. But he got completely outclassed and stopped. And that was just in 2 rounds, and big applause to Fury. He's the #1 heavyweight in the world right now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I don't necessarily want to, but I have to.
I had, believe me, before this past weekend, I had before the last fights, group of fights, I had Anthony Joshua rated #1. Now he's at 4.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
And at the same time, you don't want to take anything away from Ruiz, because the way he was boxing is
Perfect.
brilliant.
Really perfect. Stuck to the game plan. And that's the only reason why it went 7 rounds. Is because he calmed back down, cooled off, and went back to his game plan of boxing and counterpunching. Otherwise, I think he would have stopped Joshua earlier.
Yeah, I mean, just the speed of him was...
I thought it was over in the 4th. I don't see how Joshua was going to make it out of the 3rd or into the 4th.
Yeah.
But Ruiz backed off.
Yep.
And hand speed, that's great and all, but Andy Ruiz is beatable by all stretches of the imagination. He is a very good fighter, great boxer, but he's not a great boxer. He's not a great. He's not one of the best. I think Fury would toy with it.
Yeah.
I think Andy Ruiz would give Deontay Wilder a lot of problems, or possibly could, but Deontay has the equalizer.
Yeah.
If Deontay Wilder lands a left hook, right hand on Ruiz, I doubt he gets up.
Fucking great to have your expertise and insight into
Yeah,
that.
man. Hey,
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me, Phil. I really do
absolutely,
appreciate
bro.
it, man.
My man. Nothing to it.